Hey there, it's Shannon Graham Cornell from Better Home Organizing at betterhomeorganizing.com. And I'm excited to be with you today to talk about meal planning. Um, I wanted to focus on this because meal planning is something that is a really great idea if you are wanting to get a little bit of structure into at least one portion of the thing that you need to figure out as a regular part of your life during the course of a week. It seems like if we've got, if we can get meal planning under control and have our meals worked out for the week, that's at least one thing we don't have to figure out, on a Tuesday night when we're having the dreaded, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? I don't know. Let's just give up and go out to dinner, which is what happens at our house if we haven't done meal planning. The give up and go out to dinner or get something and bring it in is usually our go-to if we have not worked out meals. So I highly recommend meal planning. And we're going to talk a little bit about why, and then I'm going to give some thoughts about how to actually plan for meals and some strategies you can use to get set up for your meals for the week. So I already mentioned the main reason for why we want to do meal planning is to avoid that horrible, what do you want for dinner? What do you want for breakfast? What do you want for lunch conversation? It also is really helpful if you've got a solid meal plan and and you've agreed that this is how you're going to do your meals. It really is helpful to avoid the impulse eating. So they always say you should never go to the grocery store when you're hungry because you'll buy everything. Same is true about making decisions about what you're going to eat when A, you're hungry, and B, you haven't planned for your meals. So that's really when it's super easy to just say, you know what, let's just order in or, whatever. It's also a really good way to save money. So if you have planned your meals and you've shopped accordingly, then you've bought just the ingredients that you need in order to accomplish your meals. You don't buy extra that then you run the risk of them spoiling on you. And again, avoiding the let's eat out, because that's definitely more expensive than getting your meals from ingredients at the grocery store. You can also save yourself the frustration of not having, there's nothing worse than coming home at the end of the day and you realize you still have a family to feed and you haven't thought about it at all. And it's the last thing that you want to figure out at the end of a work day is what are we going to do for dinner? So that just can be really frustrating. And you can also, by meal planning, you can save yourself trips to the grocery store. So if you've got, for people who are there are people who do meal planning for a whole month. That's advanced work. I can't do meal planning for a whole month. That's beyond me. But if you're able to do that, then you can save yourself, but even if you're just planning for the week, that's saving yourself trips to the store. There are people that go to the store every day. And, they're on their way home from work. They stop at the grocery store to get something for dinner. And that's just a lot of trips to the store. So by doing your planning once for the week, then you can save yourself that effort and you're ready to go, for at least 6 or 7 days. So that's kind of the why for why I recommend meal planning. So let's talk about some strategies for doing that. So my main strategy really, and again, kind of the one I recommend beyond all the other ones, although all the rest of them kind of tie into this first point, is get the meal planning, get it out of your head. So what I recommend is make a list, and you can make it as simply as you want to. You can make it in whatever format you want to. You can use index cards, you can use paper, you can use Excel spreadsheets if you're into that. You can use an app, you can use, whatever. But make a list of all of the meals that you like and that you know how to make. There's a lot of meals that I like, but I don't know how to actually make, so I don't have those on my list. But think about everything that you like to eat, that you like to prepare for your family, that your family likes. And get that out of your head so that when you're doing your meal planning, if you decide, okay, Sundays are my meal planning days, you're not trying to do it from memory. you've got a list you can consult, very much like a menu at a restaurant. So, it's all written there for you. Get your family to help. You can make a game out of it too, but have your family suggest things. What do they like to eat? Go around the table and say, okay, everybody take turns naming a favorite thing not fast food, but things that we make at home, things that are your favorites, and write those things down. You can make a game out of it like, okay, the first person who can't think of something or repeat something that somebody else says is out, and you go around until you have a winner, last person standing who is able to think of something. Although since the goal of the game is to actually get food suggestions, maybe you can let people who are out chime in if they think of something. But anyway, get their help and come up with a list. The nice thing is you get buy-in from your family too on the things that they are willing to eat. So if, dinner time rolls around and it's, a Tuesday, and the thing that you're preparing on Tuesday is something that one of your kids rolls their eyes at, and it turns out it was something they recommended for the list, say, hey, you're the one who added it to the list. So anyway, get your family's help. But the idea is to get it all out of the space of your own brain and on a sheet of paper, or in a Google sheet, or an Excel spreadsheet, or Evernote, or Word document, or whatever. Again, the format is up to you and your preference, but I definitely recommend that. This is an optional step, but I find a lot of value in doing it. And that is, once you have your list, you can now flesh it out with some details. And what I mean by that is, and I'll show you an example of what I have, and we of course do our meal plan in a Google Sheet, but we have columns that capture things like, what kind of a meal is this? Is this breakfast, lunch, dinner? Is this a main dish or a side dish? What kind of protein is in it? When was the last time we had it? What are some key ingredients in it? Things that, I want to be sure that if I pick it, I know I need to shop for those ingredients. Or I know that these are ingredients I want to watch for them to go on sale, because if it goes on sale, I want to make sure we eat this. Those details. And then we've also got a column that is, when we've picked it, we actually do our meal planning out of this Google Sheet. So when we've picked it, we say, okay, this is what we're eating Monday. This is what we're eating Tuesday, Wednesday. We print it out, we hang it on the side of the fridge, and that way we have it documented. But I'll show you except I just dropped it on the floor. Hold 1 second. And I'm back. Okay, hang on. Technical earphone fail. Okay, so this is can you see it? Here's our spreadsheet. So we've got, the date we last had it, what the item is, what our key ingredients are, what the protein is this a main or a side? We've started keeping track of how many carbs per serving. You can see some of it's empty because I haven't filled it all in yet. And then what day of the week we've chosen it for. So we've got a whole list. There's actually like 6 sheets of this that we use, and that's what we use to do meal planning. And the nice thing about that is that then, and again, I'm using a Google Sheet. You can use, whatever you want. But when we use it to plan, then we're able to use those categories and those different fields to help us figure out, to decide what we want. So for example, I might say, I want to pick a chicken and a beef meal. I can filter on those things, and I'm only looking at the beef meals. I'm only looking at the chicken meals. You can do the same thing with, if you've got it in just a regular like Word document, you can just do a word find on it, search for ground beef, and you can find it, do it that way if you've listed out those key ingredients. So I use it to, when we're doing our planning, to go through and make those selections based on some of the criteria. If I want it to be a super low carb week, then I can filter out and do the ones that are, 3 carbs per serving or whatever. If you are a visual person and working in a Word document or a spreadsheet is not your thing, you can also do this with index cards. So you can do, different colors of index cards per category. So maybe you've got your breakfast is pink and lunch is, orange, and dinner is yellow. And, you can have it with different, and just have the names of the meals written out on the index cards. And then you can lay it out if you want, like on a counter, or if you've got a desk calendar, you can use that. If you're a visual planner, it's kind of fun. If you've got little kids, they can help you plan it out too. So, it's an option as well for if you're a little more visual. I mentioned a couple of sessions ago the idea of having a stocking list, which is a list of things that we always have in the house. So, we always have a couple of jars of mayonnaise. We always have some Dijon mustard. We always have, staples. And we keep track of those items and how many of them we want. And the key ingredients that we list out are things in addition to the items that are on our regular stocking list. So, you can differentiate, the ingredients list to be just those things that you don't have covered somewhere else in your stocking list. But again, I talked about the stocking list in a previous session. It's the one on having a well-stocked home without getting overrun by your inventory. And I do highly recommend that as part of your meal planning as well, because that way you've got those basic ingredients covered and you never have to worry about running out of those. But your key ingredients, if you keep track of those on your meal plan, that your stocking list plus your key ingredients will tell you what it is you need to buy when you're actually building your shopping list, which is really, really helpful. So consider developing a stocking list of some kind to help with your meal planning. Also, another consideration, think about prepping in advance. So if you know what you're going to be planning for the week, and I need, over the course of several meals, I'm going to need, 3 tablespoons of chopped onion. Prep the things that you can, chop those up and have those ready to go. We actually have a section in our refrigerator that's just labeled prepped, and that's where the prepped foods go. So we know that when it's time to, get our 1 tablespoon of onion, we can pull that out. It's ready to go. And that also makes it a lot easier to execute on your meal plan if you know that you have things prepped for that already. And it also, makes it a lot easier to, when you come home or it's the end of the day and you're faced with prepping or preparing for dinner, you've got some of that work done for you already. Also, as you're going through your meal planning and you're trying to figure out what it is you want to have for that week, check your calendar. So this is a really good time to make sure that you are planning appropriate meals given what's happening in your family's calendar for the evening. So if you've got an event you're going to, or the kids have a late practice or whatever that's going to impact your dinner time, then you're able to plan accordingly and choose a meal. Maybe that's a column, by the way, that you can add to, or a detail you can add to your list. This is a great thing to have for, when we need a quick meal. So then then you can look for the quick meal items for those particular days. So check your calendar. Also plan to build in a leftover day, particularly if you've got meals that typically generate leftovers. Plan to have a leftover day. So that way you're not stuck with a whole bunch of leftovers from everything you've planned during the week. And now you've got no place to consume them because every day's got a new meal. Also consider having a day that's a standing day. Like in our case, Friday night for us is always date night. We always go out. So we don't ever plan a meal for Friday night. Or you might have a Taco Tuesday that you always do. So consider doing that. Build that into your schedule. And then whatever it is that you've decided for the week, document it and put it someplace it's easy to find. So I mentioned before that, once we've gone through in our little spreadsheet and we've chosen the things that we want for that week, we just print out that section and we stick it to the side of our refrigerator, and that's our guide for the week. And then, when the week's over, we throw that one out and replace it with the new meal plan for the week. So just make sure it's easy to find and easy to consult. Kristen, you always have Taco Tuesday. First of all, the alliteration is just fantastic. But yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's one day a week you don't have to think about. There's no negotiation. Everybody's got it. You know, everybody's prepared for that. Yeah, I like that idea. And also, for those of you that are who may feel hampered by having a list, you know, or a schedule, for those who might feel trapped by a menu plan. I know sometimes, you know, you have a menu plan, you look at it, you think, oh, that sounded really good when I picked it, but I really don't feel like doing that today. Or today turned out to be a lot more complicated than I thought, and I just don't have time. You know, feel free to swap out the days. You can certainly do that. But if you feel stuck or trapped by that, I always think of it as, this is a reminder for me of what I thought I would want and what I have the ingredients for. And so I try to stick with the meal plan, but I will occasionally move things around if we're just not feeling it and it's, you know, a bacon and eggs night and we're like, no, let's swap out with what we're going to do tomorrow. So we're not 100%, we don't consider ourselves 100% stuck to the list, but we do try to move things around if it turns out that we're not feeling it that particular night. So those are my thoughts for doing some meal planning. One thing I would love, for those of you who do any meal planning, and if you have any kind of apps that you like, I know that there are a bunch of meal planning apps out there. A lot of them seem to have their own recipes, which I actually I'm not interested in the recipes. I just want a place to keep track of stuff, which is why I have Google Sheets. But if there are any apps that you have tried that you really like for meal planning, let me know in the comments. I'd love to learn a little bit more about the app world when it comes to meal planning. My meal planning is pretty old school. So, but it definitely works for us. And again, you know, you want to do what works for you, but I'd like to learn more about it. So thanks for joining, and happy meal planning. In fact, we just did our meal planning this morning. I say we, my husband did it. I got to give Michael the credit. He did the meal planning and he did the grocery shopping. So, but we're set for the week. So hopefully this has been helpful. And if you give it a try, let me know. And I will see you tomorrow. All right. Bye, everyone.